Straight ahead on Law and Crime Daily. Britney Spears' father speaks out ahead of a conservatorship hearing. He claims he's trying to protect her from self-serving people. Plus, fashion mogul Peter Nygard accused of sex trafficking. Why he's being called the Canadian Jeffrey Epstein. And new body cam video release in the AHMAUD Arbery case.
You're a passerby coming through?
Nah, not necessarily.
What the defendants had to say immediately after the shooting. Later, a family rescued from their submerging vehicle. The bystander who was being called a hero.
Yep, got it.
Law and Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmire along with Terri Austin. Pop stars Britney Spears' father is speaking out over the ongoing battle of her conservatorship. Britney Spears has had a court-appointed conservator since 2008, following personal issues. Her father, James Spears, was named a co-conservator along with an attorney. The attorney stepped down last year, and Spears now says she's afraid of her father. A judge declined to remove him, but added a private trust. He's speaking out ahead of another hearing in the case, telling CNN that he loves his daughter and has stepped up for the last 12 years to care and protect her. The pop star's attorney called her a high-functioning conservatee, a term psychologist and law and crime expert Dr. John Delatorre explains.
The idea that someone can be a high-functioning goes completely against the idea of gravely disabled, one of the criteria that you need in order to have a conservator. So I can see where the public is asking for a free Britney issue, though I'm not sure if she's able to think her way out of these kinds of complicated issues. And perhaps she just needs someone on her team to help her manage her life a little bit better, but not necessarily in a legal setting.
Joining me now is former federal prosecutor Gene Rossi along with Terri Austin. Terri, does anything you've heard so far in this Britney Spears saga really change how this conservatorship may actually be executed?
No, it doesn't. You know, I think the father is actually doing a little public relations here. I think he's trying to get out in front of the camera. But for whatever reason, the court is thinking that Britney needs to stay in a conservatorship. And it seems to me that she is doing just fine. She's handling her case, you know, she's handling her music business as best as anyone can expect. So I'm a little surprised that she is still in a conservatorship.
Now, Gene, I know it's difficult because a lot of the information in these hearings are secret. We're not able to actually look into it. But where do you see this conservatorship going based on what you're seeing so far?
Well, it started around 2008 and it's continuing to today. So there's probably something in the record sealed that is in the hands or minds of the court that causes the court to pause on whether she should get her life back financially. Because when you have a conservatorship, that's a very extreme measure, if you will. The person about whom the conservatorship is established is not able to handle their affairs. So there's something in the record that we don't know about that has kept this thing going for 12 years.
Exactly. And in other celebrity news, a judge has ordered the ex-wife of singer Phil Collins to stop her scandalous allegations in their bitter court battle. Collins is suing Orianne Bates, saying she's refused to vacate their Miami Beach mansion. Bates is countersuing, claiming she's entitled to half of the property, which is on the market for $40 million. Her attorneys wrote in a motion that Collins developed a drinking problem, stopped showering, and became a hermit. The judge ordered her to stop her claims or risk losing her half of the mansion. She's agreed to move out in January. Federal authorities in Manhattan announced the arrest of Canadian fashion mogul Peter Nygard. Nygard is facing charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transporting minors for prostitution. Prosecutors say Nygard sexually assaulted dozens of girls over several decades. He's accused of targeting economically disadvantaged females and using his connections to create a network to victimize women. The FBI raided his Times Square offices earlier this year after 10 women filed a lawsuit claiming he assaulted them. The lawsuit now has up to 57 women. Terri, these allegations are so similar to Jeffrey Epstein, he's being labeled the Canadian Jeffrey Epstein. The name seems to fit, eh?
I do think it seems to fit, Brian. You know, he's being charged with these sex trafficking crimes. And the fact that he is in a position of power, just like Epstein, and he's taking advantage of young girls who don't have positions of power, I think that is the part that is very similar to Epstein.
Now, Gene, you know how the feds go after someone, especially as a former prosecutor. How hard are they going to go after Nygard? And can you break down what that prosecution will look like?
Well, I love basketball. It's going to be a UCLA full court press. I read the press release and the articles on this. They have 3 super prosecutors on this case. Normally you have 1 or 2, and they mean business. It's the Southern District of New York, and they probably could have, I'm guessing, wiretaps, a bunch of search warrants of emails, residences. I suspect they have a pretty strong case.
Yeah, I mean, strong enough for him to be extradited into the States from Canada. We'll keep tabs on that case. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, final arguments in the motion for a new trial of a father convicted of murdering his son. But first, body cam video shows the moments after the AHMAUD Arbery shooting in Georgia. We break down one of the defendant's statements after the break. Newly released police body cam video in the AHMAUD Arbery case shows key moments after the shooting death in February. Gregory and Travis McMichael are facing 9 charges, including malice murder, for the shooting death of AHMAUD Arbery in February. Investigators say Gregory McMichael started chasing Arbery as he left a construction site. Son Travis McMichael is accused of firing the shots. A third man, William Rody Bryan, is charged with boxing Arbery in while filming the incident. He's denied participating in the killing, but his statements to Glynn County Police say otherwise.
People getting broken into out here. Right. You know, so I hollered at them. I said, y'all got him? And he just kept running. He was full bore running down Burford. They got down to the end down there somewhere. I must have passed him because I pulled out of my driveway, was going to try to block him. But he was going all around it, and I made a few moves at him, you know, and he didn't stop. And they started coming from that way.
Okay, they is in this
White truck.
White truck?
Yeah. And I tried to kind of block him again. I didn't really know who that was at the time, but I tried to block him again. That didn't happen. They went around me, so I turned around, come back. He's out the truck on the driver's side, and he had the shotgun.
Okay, who did?
The driver's side.
The driver of this truck had the shotgun.
Right,
Okay.
Travis. He never really raised his gun to him.
Okay.
But about that time, he come over and started just wailing on his face. The black dude started hitting the white guy in the face. And Travis really can't get away from him, can't pull up with the shotgun. I think Travis even gets a lick or 2 in.
Okay.
And the other black guy gets another lick or 2 in. And about that time, the shotgun gets raised up and he pulls the trigger.
Okay.
And then it seems like it goes for a second of struggling again.
Okay.
I mean, like good 10 seconds maybe.
Okay.
Before again. I think I heard three shots.
The officer went on to ask Brian if the victim, AHMAUD Arbery, was defending himself.
Was he defending himself? Did it look like he was defending himself to you?
Yeah. I mean, if the guy would have stopped, you know, I mean, find out what was going on, he obviously was up to something. I mean, this would have never happened. You know, should we have been chasing him? I don't know. You know? I mean, but, yeah, no, at that point one time when I cornered him up over here, he was trying to get my truck. He tried to get in my door.
Okay.
So
that was on this road here?
No, it was on that road.
On that road.
Yeah.
So he come up to your door and was pulling on your door handle on the driver's side?
Matter of fact, he's probably.
So let me ask you this: what did it look like he was trying to do? He was trying to get on this side of the car, right? What did it look like he was trying to do? What?
Yeah, I mean, I'd cut him off pretty good now, you know. But I mean,
did he actually pull on your handle?
I wouldn't be surprised if that's his warrants right there.
Okay.
He was trying to get to the handle.
Okay.
I mean, there are so many parts in that video, but let's just cherry pick 2 of them, Terry. Was he defending himself? Yeah. And then himself, Brody, saying, should we have been chasing him? I mean, what does this video do for this case in your eyes?
You know, this video absolutely is evidence that the fact that they were cornering him and blocking him and chasing him, of course, Ahmaud Arbery was defending himself. He was trying to save his life. So this part of the video is very different from the very end of the video because it shows that he was being chased down. He was literally being hunted. So it's an admission, and I'm, hoping that it is the fact that really changes everything in this case.
Now, Gina, I want to break down the video some more, but I've got to ask, as a former prosecutor, this video seems damning, and especially what was heard in it. Why is this the first time we're hearing what this defendant said and not earlier? This would have painted a much better picture for everyone.
Well, I think the police are trying to protect themselves here. What strikes me the most, Ahmaud Arbery is dead. And 3 guys chased him. 1 filmed him. And the way the police officers are treating these suspects, it's like they did nothing wrong. The guy said that Mr. Arbery, Ryan said that Mr. Arbery was probably defending themselves, and we probably shouldn't have chased him. Those are 2 red flags and loud gongs. It's what Terry just said. They chased him down. And it shows to me that the color of a person's skin at times depends on how focused the police are going to be. If this were a white victim and there were 3 black guys that chased the white guy and took his life, I don't think those officers would be using the same tone of voice.
I mean, Gina, I'll go further. It's not that I think it's what I know based on my practice here. The fact that they were still not arrested weeks after saying those comments, he was defending himself, and should we have been chasing him, blows my mind as to how this rolled out. But we're going to continue to follow that case as it unfolds. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, a harrowing rescue of a family from their submerging car. The video you don't want to miss. Plus, could foul play be behind the disappearance of a 3-year-old boy in Ohio? The search for Nilo continues. The search continues for a missing 3-year-old boy whose mother was found stabbed to death in Cincinnati. Angenette Levy tells us why police are losing hope that the boy will be found alive.
3-year-old Nilo Lattimore was last seen on December 4th. 8 days later, his mother's body was found.
We are concerned greatly for his whereabouts. We want the public to know we are doing everything as a police department to locate Nilo.
Police say Nytisha Lattimore was stabbed to death with an unknown edged weapon. Her body was found near a bridge over the Ohio River. A stroller Lattimore used for Nilo was found nearby. Lattimore's boyfriend, DeSean Brown, is charged with murdering her. Volunteer search and recovery groups spent a day looking for any sign of Nilo along 21 miles of the riverbanks. Police say they're very concerned for Nilo's safety.
We are still looking for Nilo Lattimore to date. Please understand that. But growing concern has risen through our investigation and interviewing of DeSean Brown, who has been charged with the death of Nytisha Lattimore. Growing concern to the point we feel that this event with Nilo may involve foul play. So we're asking anyone with information whatsoever to come forward.
A judge set DeSean Brown's bail at $1 million, and he could face more charges after this case goes to the grand jury. For Law and Crime Daily, I'm Angenette Levy.
Thanks, Angenette. Our hopes remain strong that Nilo was found. The trial for a former Florida mayor charged with attempted murder has been delayed yet again. Dale MASSAD is accused of firing at Pasco County Sheriff's deputy who served him a search warrant last February. He's also charged with practicing medicine without a license. MASSAD had been scheduled to go to trial in January, but COVID-19 concerns have pushed it back.
I can tell you, Your Honor, that we have not completely given up the idea of negotiating with the state of Florida, Mr. McCabe's office. We do have to iron one other thing out with Mr. Bartlett, but my understanding is that Pasco is closed down. as far as setting trials. This may be a 2-week trial, so we probably should take it off the calendar.
And in Orlando, police body cam video captured officers rescuing a family from a submerged vehicle. A man was driving Thursday night with his 2 sons in a car when an animal bolted out into the roadway. The father swerved, crossed over a median, and drove into a retention pond. A witness rushed over to help the family. The bystander held the 4-year-old boy's head above water as he called 911. Officers arrived after the 12-year-old boy escaped the wreckage.
I need you to come to me. The fire department's gonna go get your brother and your daddy, okay? Okay, come on, Gabriel. Gabriel, come to me, buddy. Yes, there's a male and another man. Come on now, buddy. No, please, help! Help them!
Here.
What do you need?
Help.
Here, hang on.
Yep, got it.
Here, give me the light.
I'll hold the lights for you. You want to take it?
Where are the keys?
Hey, buddy, were the keys in the ignition?
Can you get in?
I need a light. Here.
Officers and firefighters were able to pull the father and 4-year-old out of the vehicle. The family was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. When we come back, a motion for a new trial wraps up. Why a father convicted of murdering his son by leaving him in a hot car wants a second chance in front of the court. Next. Closing arguments wrapped up a hearing for a Georgia father convicted of killing his son by leaving him in a hot car. Justin Ross Harris was sentenced to life in prison without parole for murdering his son, 22-month-old Cooper. A jury found him guilty, but Harris now wants a new trial. He says his trial attorney failed to adequately represent him by not calling a particular memory expert. The expert's notes included references to Harris's online searches, allegedly for life without a child. His new defense team wrapped up their case by arguing that those notes should not have been taken by the state.
Our position is there's no legal basis to turn this material over. We don't think it was been contended throughout in the trial level, and it's being contended now that there's really no legal basis for them to have it at that time. So the state does their own in-camera, and I think it's kind of ironic perhaps, but it looks like the way the evidence is presented when Dr. Diamond says that he had the handwritten notes when he went with the first interview, and that's the one it looks like, from my recollection of the testimony that he talked to Mr. Boring about, then what actually the original motion to compel for was the handwritten notes. That's what the state of Georgia never, according to the trial team, they never saw that. And instead they got what really was the work product. I don't think it matters. I don't think they should have gotten either one of them, but they got the work product, and that was what Chuck Boring had told the court that's not what he wanted. And it doesn't matter. I mean, either one they had or what their intent, which one they wanted to get, doesn't matter. They got work product, and it was improper, and it was devastating to the defense.
The prosecution responded by taking on the credibility of the defense's memory expert, witness Dr. David Diamond.
Maddox Kilgore testified that he went up to Dr. David Diamond afterwards and said, the reason we're not putting you on the stand is you could be subjected to cross-examination, especially about these things, where there's inconsistencies in testimony between your testimony and Dr. Brewer. The state could go ahead and object to your testimony, especially when you're testifying, well, I interviewed some other woman who did this one time, and therefore that means Ross Harris did it. That's completely not allowed. And of course the state would have objected to that. He gave a number of other reasons to Dr. Diamond for not calling him to the stand. Those are the real reasons, not the fact that the state had their hands on Dr. Diamond's notes. Not at all. So, Your Honor, our position here, number one, is the court was completely correct under the statute 1716-4 in compelling the defense to provide the state with what the state was entitled to. The defense is not allowed to put up a witness who opines, here's my opinion, and it's based on what the defendant told me, without telling the state what it is that the defendant told the expert that's the basis of his opinion.
The judge will not make a ruling about the motion for a new trial until mid-January. Terry, I'm looking at this argument about the whole Dr. Diamond thing. What do you think? Is it a flawless argument, or do you think there's a few cracks in how that's going to be playing out?
Well, I don't think that really should make a difference. I think that the defense had a right to determine whether or not Dr. Diamond was needed in the trial, and I don't think that that was low performance or it was unreasonable. And so I definitely don't think that ineffective counsel is going to win the day at the end of the day. So we'll see what happens.
And Gene, similar question. Is this ineffective assistance of counsel, or they just chose a different tactic that the defendant didn't like?
I think it's the latter. Picking a certain trial tactic or strategy, if it's objectively reasonable, even though you didn't pick the best one, but you had an alternative that arguably was pretty good, that does not rise to ineffective assistance of counsel. They chose not to call Dr. Diamond. There was a strategic reason for not doing it. It was reasonable. I think this motion to vacate the conviction will fail.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Gene, Terry, thank you all so much. And thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.